I'm here with Mr. John R. Johnson, the District 3 candidate for County Commissioner in Escambia County, Florida. Mr. Johnson, welcome to Rexco Promotion.
Well, I tell you what, if I felt any better...
Now, Mr. Johnson, we did our interview back in 1994.
I remember that.
You're still here, you're still around. What keeps you in this race?
It's one of those things that's an innate love and will to want to see the best things come for the district where I live, where my neighbors are at, and my friends are at, and people that I, have a fellowship with on a daily basis. And I just want to see them. I want to see them have all of the benefits and the.
What would make you a better representative for your district than the incumbent candidate?
The incumbent candidate is non-existent in this race. The would-be incumbent, the Honorable Miss Marie Young, is retiring, and she's going to do some of the things that she wants to do in her personal life, I would believe. But she's just retiring from the post after having served for...
Are you an independent, Republican, or Democrat?
I am no party affiliation. I'm not riding on a party ticket. I feel to reflect what's best in my interest. I can't buy into the partyism politics. I can't be in a race with people who are trying to be injurious and insulting to me, and at the end join their team to help them beat somebody else. My mind can't click like that.
What difference can you make?
The first difference, I guess, would be my sincerity. I am aware of the unique problems that are inherited in District 3. As you know, that we're one of the poorest counties in the entire country, District 3 here in Florida. And we have some atrocious statistics that we have to deal with on a daily basis. We have a high mortality rate in the actuary tables. We have a lot of things that affect us uniquely as a group, but at the same time, there are a lot of beneficial and well desired characters of District 3. For instance, District 3 is the central main metropolitan hub, believe it or not. And in District 3 is the heart of the city of Pensacola, and probably the heart of Escambia County. You know, that as we get up further north, like in District 5, when it becomes more rural, we experience rural life. You know, when you're driving down the road with the pine trees off and you see the cattle grazing and farmers growing crops. It used to be that the family farm could take care of everything. It used to be that they were self-sustaining by their own. For instance, you know, when the farms of yesterday were truly self-sufficient. But now the farmers have to deal with agricultural giants like the major agricultural companies. Small farmers have a hard time dealing with that, except that here's a new trend coming where people are wanting to buy fresh produce and they set up stands, so somebody might have a Saturday market or something, there's been food deserts all across the country. Michelle Obama, she talked about the food deserts while she was promoting Put a Garden in Your Yard program. Well, I beat Michelle to that. I've been had a garden. But it's nice that she's trying to get everybody else to get a garden. You know what? I always say, if I can grow it, I can make it taste like I want it.
What would be the number one thing you want to implement in your district?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, we got some serious problems in our district. I'm not gonna lie. We got a problem with our youth wanting to kill each other off. We got disrespect for our elderly, and people are afraid of living these days. It's not like when we grew up. I mean, things have changed a lot. I mean, we got an element that is not conducive for community thriving. We got unemployment in our community at alarming rates. The national statistics, I think it's about 13%. But for African Americans, unemployed is about probably 40%. For African American teenagers, probably about 50%. And for African Americans with a criminal record as felonies, they probably got about a 79% employment rate. So we got some statistics that can't really be solved except we ourselves take hold of the problem. You know, we're not that naive that we can't understand how commerce works, how the economical system works, and we understand that if there's not the type of action taken from a grassroots point of view, from the ground up, that it's going to be a lot of people left behind. So when you run into these snake oil salesmen trying to tell you that they're the answer to everything, you got to realistically ask yourself, do they even know what the problem is?
What change would you try to implement?
Well, we have to offer incentives for people to start businesses. Then we have to somehow attract these young entrepreneurs right in our community to go in more sustainable, profitable ventures. We really don't have a lack of talent. We have a lack of employees.
You say, is the employment rate here in your district?
It's very dramatic. It's got to be at least 50%, at least that. And 50% would be an improvement. Consider most of the poor people are having it hard all over America and really all over the world. You got poor people in Greece; they're suffering just as well. And so, like what Bob Marley used to say, when the rain falls, it don't fall on one man's house.
If you should win this election, would you consider yourself being aligned to one of the major parties?
Well, that's a difficult thing to ponder. I believe that the parties were instrumental in getting their platforms. But I think that the situation we find ourselves in today is so broad in its spectrum that we need an independent solution that's not based on partisanship. Partisanship is
President Barack Obama had a campaign slogan, "Yes, we can." Do you have a slogan? Oh, your slogan is "I will"?
I will.
Wow. That's amazing. We'll be back after this commercial break. Do you know a commercial break? Google. During our commercial break, we were talking about Pensacola's history and its longevity being what it is today. From whence we came, what is Pensacola like in the 15th century?
Well, Pensacola is the oldest white settlement in the entire country. Started back in 1550s when Pensacola was settled. We have the famous the square down there on the Seville Square, where there was a village there, and we know that there probably were Africans either here or came here during the Spanish rule, because at one time, I think it was during the Spanish rule, where if you were a slave and you could escape and you can get to Florida and join the Catholic Church, you were granted your freedom. And in those days, Pensacola was the capital of the state of Florida. Governor Perry had his office right down there, right in Talbot Street. And I think some of his associates, people like Mr. W.A. Blunt, some of the historical names that fill our streets are like the Mallory's, and the Blunts, and the Marinos. All of those street names of people, these are people who actually live here and work here. And as a matter of fact, that the state of Florida reached all the way to Louisiana. Like places like Mobile. Mobile was owned by Florida. That was a financial capital. You had Biloxi, Gulfport, Pascagoula. Those were ports that at the time when Alabama and Mississippi became a state, Florida sold those places so that they would have a port to have their commerce.
Pensacola is sometimes jokingly called Pensabama. What's that significance?
Well, actually, it should be, the Floribama is what you really kind of alluding to. And we got the Perdido Key that goes all the way up to what is now the state of Alabama, but back in the original demographics, that was part of Florida. But what happened was, Florida was in about its fifth control when the Confederates took it over. And that's where we got the Confederate flag and the 5 flags of the Fiesta. The 5 flags. And they ran it for a while. As a matter of fact, the Civil War pretty much began. I think it was a Huntley involved, and there was an attack on I think a garrison or a base or a fort around these parts somewhere. And the Confederates were attacking the Union ground by taking the federal base, and that kind of kicked off the Civil War. And I think that's probably why it seems that African Americans have a hard time making it in Pensacola.